Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Sasha Haldane, how do I say your last name?
Haldane.
Haldane, okay. So first of all, thank you very much for joining me on Shooting It Raw. And one of the reasons why I invited you on was because I saw your images of the spiders, and somebody who doesn't like spiders who's listening to this podcast might be like, oh, really? But yeah, we're going to get into it because if you were
spiders
are what?
Spiders are cute.
They're very cute. They're super cute. Once you get into it, you know, the more you learn, the more fascinating they become.
Yeah, that's right. They are absolutely amazing. And of course, you know, I obviously concentrate more on the jumping spiders than the normal spiders, but I find both fascinating, actually. The jumping spiders have given me a bit more of a insight into the other types of spiders that we see in Hong Kong as well. And so, you know, I actually really now am interested in all spiders in Hong Kong.
Okay, so the first photo you sent, and that the one I've chosen is, I don't know if I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but Iposilla, probably Blaire.
I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation because it seems amongst everybody that I chat to about the spiders, the pronunciation is totally different, and I actually don't know if I'm getting it right either.
Okay.
So I say Epicilla.
Okay.
Some people say Epicilla. I mean, there's all sorts of different pronunciations. So I'll keep on with my pronunciations, even though they're probably wrong. And I'm going to say an Epicilla.
I want to talk about that for a second. Okay. Yeah. By the way, we're gonna take digressions all over the place. Okay. So you know how children, when they're learning how to speak, they'll say words kind of incorrectly or whatever, and you kind of correct them. And my daughter, you know, and this is very common, would say library, right? Oh, I'm going to the library. And so we would always correct her. It's library, because we say, you know, Canadian or whatever, library, and the library is library. And then so I was telling this to so your accent, where are you from? You grew up in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I'm originally a Kiwi, a New Zealander, but I grew up in Hong Kong from the age of 3.
Oh, nice.
My accent is kind of a mix-up of much everything.
Yeah, so I was talking to one of Caden's, like a fellow dad, like another dad, and he's from Bristol, or he's from Bath, or he's from some place in the UK. And I was telling him about, you know, how I'm correcting my daughter's, you know, library, and he goes, "Oh, you mean a library?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "A library." And I was just like,
yeah.
There is no right pronunciation for anything.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to read quite a lot. And so I didn't have any guidance on my pronunciation there either. And I used to say Island instead of Ireland all the time.
Okay,
so,
sure.
Yeah.
So, Eposilla, how do you say again? Eposilla?
Yeah, it's either Eposilla or Epicilla.
Oh, okay.
It could be either. You know, probably I'm saying it wrong because when I go out with other people who are also photographers, sometimes they say, "What are you saying?" And I'm saying, "You know, that one."
So one of the good things, one of the amazing and really arresting things about your photo. So the first photograph is with a kind of a ring flash or something, because the light is even bright. It's a spider that's in, you know, close-up image. It's kind of yellowish. You can see the hairs on its feet. You can see the very dawny hairs on its head. There's a bit of orange. So the body is a kind of a yellowish amber, and the head has some white, some brown, orange. Some of the eyes. So what's fascinating about these spiders is they have these 2 large front-facing eyes, and then
that's right.
And then on both sides there are 2 other smaller dark black eyes, and then the rear part of its body is mostly yellow with these white and black bands, and you can't see the fangs too much, but I assume this was photographed on a rock. It looks like it's on a stone with lichen.
It's actually on a railing. One of my patches is a set of railings, and there are a lot of jumping spiders on those railings, and that's how I managed to see a lot of them, because otherwise you have to spend a lot of time hunting through trees and leaves to find things. I'm quite lucky to have sites that I know about that have quite a lot of jumpers on them.
Nice. So it's a beautiful, it's a stunning image. It's stunning. So most people who are going to listen into this podcast who don't like spiders are going to probably look at us or just wonder why. How did you get into spiders?
Well, I mean, it's a longish story. I've always kind of been interested in spiders, and also in wildlife and sort of nature. And I went along to one of Robert Ferguson's exhibitions, and I saw his pictures of lantern bugs. And I'd never seen those in Hong Kong before. I didn't understand how it was. I'd grown up all this time in Hong Kong, basically my whole life, and never seen anything like this. And he very kindly directed me to where I could find some. And that started my interest in insects in Hong Kong. Yeah, it was a bit hit and miss in the last 2 years or so. And then I joined the iNaturalist City Challenge, where you go out and take pictures over the weekend, and you try and it's every city around the world who does it. And you try and take as many pictures as you possibly can of all the different species within your home city, and load it down to iNaturalist and ID it. And then the city with the most ID'd photos wins.
Yeah, Hong Kong's amazing.
And Hong Kong usually comes second or third in the world with that, because the biodiversity here is astonishing. And I did it last year, and then I did it again this year. And of course, this year there was more impetus because there's not much to do. And just towards the end of it, I was going along a set of railings with my kids on just a walk, and I had my camera I had my phone taking pictures, all right, because of that step, I was using my phone. And on the railing, and the reason I was looking at the railings was because my daughter had noted that there were a lot of insects on railings, and I hadn't realized that. She's the one who pointed it out to me, actually. I have to credit her because otherwise she'll be upset. So I saw this little jumping spider, and it was very sunny, and it was kind of gleaming in the light. It was like a lovely gold color. And I put my phone down to it, because the thing you've got to bear in mind is these jumping spiders are tiny. Most of them are the size of my thumbnail or smaller. The biggest ones are only as big as the first joint of my thumb. And a lot of them are like 3 millimeters long. All right. So in order to actually see them, I had to get my camera there and get the magnification out. And when I had magnification with my phone camera on, the little spider suddenly tilted its head to one side. I mean, it was a very almost human gesture. It was like, or like your favorite dog would do. It was like, what the heck are you? What are you doing here? Why are you sort of pointing this thing in my face? And it was a very contemplative look. And I just immediately went, oh.
Yeah, I know. They're so cute.
That's so cute. And so I was so wrapped with this spider, I started looking for more and more spiders. So I was taking pictures with my phone. And obviously, the phones are pretty good in terms of cameras. So I was getting okay images. And I was posting those up on the Facebook site, Bug City 2, right, which is the Hong Kong bugs. It's all the Hong Kong bug enthusiasts and people who just want to identify what the heck a bug is. The experts who are on that page will help you out. And finally, some of the people on the site started approaching me and saying, you're actually seeing some really unusual spiders here. What do you think about getting a proper camera?
Oh, got it.
Right. And getting some better shots for better ID, because some of the spiders you're seeing there are actually quite rare.
Oh wow! So
I went out and got the thing that was in my budget was an Olympus TG6, just a little handheld camera with really good macro capabilities, and I basically started taking the photos, and I was absolutely rapt because of course I could actually see the details. Spiders so much better than I could from my phone. and so I've just continued taking photos of anything that I come across on the railings that looks interesting, or on any other site that I happen to be on. But I'm really concentrating on the jumpers, and then sort of extending towards the other spiders, because those are kind of the things I'm most fascinated with.
Hey, have you gotten any images of lantern beetles that you can send? Maybe it'd be nice to post an image of a lantern beetle if you have one.
No, absolutely. I'll grab one and send it to you so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but also from my perspective, lantern beetles to me are by far the most beautiful insects I've ever seen. I mean, they're just so impossibly beautiful and colorful, and you look at it, and the first time I saw it, I couldn't believe it. And
it's just the weirdest looking bug.
Most
but also
beautiful.
The colors are absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And especially also when, if they actually open their wings out, not only have that amazing red nose and the amazing green back, but then you also have the astonishing yellow wings underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So, they are absolutely stunning.
So, I've seen a couple of videos online of jumping spiders displaying some very interesting, sweet behavior. And I know, like, people who listen to this who haven't seen this are going to be like, what are these guys smoking? And I'm not stoned at the moment. Are you stoned? It's pretty early.
No. I've got early morning fuzz brain, but I'm definitely not stoned.
But like these videos and this stuff, I mean, the spiders. So what stands out about for you about the jumping spider that you find? If there's this one feature about them that you were to pick, what was the one feature that you'd say that is bonkers that people don't know about?
Ooh, the one major feature. I mean, their eyes are amazing, right? Because they have 8 eyes, and they have to obviously brain sequence the images that are coming in from the 8 eyes. Mm-hmm. And the big 2 eyes that you see are almost like telescopes, mm-hmm. right? They go all the way back. They have lenses that are very much like telescopic lenses, and they use those for hunting with, mm-hmm. Because that's their primary sort of hunting tool is their incredible vision. And then all the other eyes around the side have they basically source movement, and then the brain has to take in all those images and all the movement things and make it into one thing that it can understand. It's interesting. In some ways, people have that as well, because they have the cones and the rods. Mm-hmm. So the cones enter and the rods and on the outside, and our brains also have to comprehend all the images and the movement factors that are coming in. But the spiders just have so many more. Mm-hmm. So to me, that is absolutely astonishing. I mean, as far as the other factor that I love about those spiders is that they're so feisty, right? They are so brave and daring. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm coming and looming over them, a lot of them will pretty much stand their ground, and quite often they'll jump me. All right, so they'll jump my camera because they can see a reflection of themselves in the camera. Oh. If they see my hands too close, they'll just jump them. Nice. Because they're like, I'm the king here. So I really am attracted to that bravery that they mm-hmm. show.
Mm-hmm. So just to geek out a little bit, so you've got this camera. Are you using a ring flash? Are you using how are you getting the lighting? The lighting, and it took me a while, because you'll see, like, when you look on my range of photos, you'll see it took me a while to get a flash going. Mm-hmm. Because, as I said before, I am very technically incompetent. So just new stuff, I have to be talked into it a bit. Sure. And so someone actually lent me their diffuser, because I was finding with the normal flash, it was just too harsh. The images I was overexposing them. It was just it just wasn't working out. So mm-hmm. I went for a walk with another photographer, and he very kindly lent me his diffuser for the second camera, so I could see the effect. So I'm using the TG6 ring diffuser, which is obviously the disadvantage with that is that, sometimes it cuts your image in half a bit in terms of where the light goes. Mm-hmm. Unlike the huge diffusers that the big cameras have, where you can have this huge soft light mm-hmm. diffused from the flash.
I have to be very directive with my flash and diffuser, not to have shadows across the spiders. But it does actually make for a much better lit photo. And then I think someone was telling me the other day that there's also an LED light diffuser, which I'd be interested in finding, but it's also just getting them from the camera shops here
right.
Finding all the accessories.
I love that. Okay, so what do you do? Do you have a day job? Like, who are you? What's your life?
So I do a couple of things.
Okay.
I used to be a full-time criminal lawyer, criminal and human rights lawyer.
What?
I retired from doing that, and so what I do now is I part-time tutor at Hong Kong U in the PCLL program, which is basically the practical law. So I do things like litigation and advocacy.
Oh wow!
And that's my part-time, and then I also have a little business where I do, this is very randomly weird. I have a little business called Black Cat Badges.
Okay.
And I run a stall at various craft fairs, and I have badge making and bracelets and bracelet making kits for kids.
Oh, wow.
Because I love color and things like that. So yeah, whenever there's fairs, which, it's a bit tricky.
Right now is a bit, yeah.
We just had one, but the next one's just been cancelled at Discovery Bay, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a stall going, so I spend a fair amount of time also making stuff because it's all handmade by me.
Well, nice to know. Well, okay.
In between that, I do the spider photography.
Nice. So here's how our kind of histories kind of intersect very, very tangentially. One of my first careers after I finished my bachelor's degree was working for the Ontario Human Rights Commission.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, the Human Rights Commission had 3 branches, policy and education, communication, I guess. And then the other one was the legal side, right? So I worked a lot with human rights lawyers. And so you practiced here in Hong Kong?
Yeah, so I did. And so when I say that I was doing the human rights, I was doing a lot of work for on the torture claims section here.
Okay.
So, and I did that for about 3 years.
Okay.
And
does Hong Kong have a thriving torture market? To put it in a weird way.
At the time that I started doing it, there were a lot of claims.
Okay.
And I think there was a huge backlog with them because it wasn't recognized. Initially, people weren't recognizing that Hong Kong was a signatory.
Oh, okay. So
when a court case came along that basically said that Hong Kong had to recognize and process those claims, there was a huge backlog of cases involved. And I think it's probably, there's probably less cases coming through now, but there's a fair number still being processed because, as refugees come through here, either deliberately or accidentally, sometimes they just get dumped here, basically.
Oh, wow.
Because they've been coming through and they can't get any further.
Sure.
For various reasons, and then then they'll obviously be making claims to the Human Rights Commission and to the torture claim section.
Wow.
So,
and did you study in Hong Kong?
Oh no, I actually did my law degree in New Zealand.
Okay.
And then came back here and practiced, and then I practiced also for a while in Australia, wherever we were going with my husband's job.
Right.
I practiced in Australia, and then I was back here practicing again, and then down in New Zealand for a while, but in New Zealand I was mainly just teaching.
Okay. Now that you came from New Zealand to Hong Kong, was it an easy transition to come to Hong Kong? Is it something that's relatively transferable?
I grew up here, so to me, everything in Hong Kong feels pretty normal. But in terms of the processing of human rights here, I wouldn't have said that it was particularly progressive.
That's kind of where my gut would go on that answer.
No, it's definitely not progressive in terms of how you deal with refugees here. I do understand, but that to some extent, it comes back towards when we had all the Vietnamese refugees coming in, and initially people here were very sympathetic and did all they could, but as we got swamped further and further with more refugees, I think the people became less empathetic,
right?
And I think that's basically a fallout from that,
right,
in the way that we now deal with refugees in Hong Kong as well. So
fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next photo.
Yeah, sorry.
No, no, you're responding to my question. You don't need to apologize. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.